Okay, next we got our segment, Making Voters Smarter, and my man Izzy is going to break down an article for you.
I'm going to jump right into this with my hot take. It is time to end Amazon, and here's why. I want you to ask yourself these 7 questions if you call yourself a progressive and yet you're still a consistent Amazon customer. And yes, that applies to everyone on this show as well. So question number 1. Yes. Question number 1. Are you for workers' unions? Well, Christian Smalls was fired from Amazon earlier this year for organizing a walkout to protest the unsafe warehouse working conditions during the COVID crisis. The New York Times says, quote, for years, Amazon has resisted the efforts of organized labor. Amazon General Counsel David Zapolsky called Christian not smart or articulate in a leaked memo and said they will be in a much stronger PR position by making him the face of the entire union/organizing movement. They've also given this same treatment to many other activists and organizers within the company, such as Bashir Mohammed, Emily Cunningham, Marin Costa, and Chris Hayes. So question number 2, do you care about workers earning a living wage? So from what I can find online, for the most part, Amazon warehouse workers bring in the company minimum $15 to $17 for the New York metro area, which is where Christian Smalls worked. According to the living wage calculator developed by MIT's Dr. Amy Glassmeyer, this is essentially at or less than a minimum subsistence wage for New York City, as well as many of the regions in which Amazon operates its warehouses. Question number 3, do you care about eliminating the absurd income inequality and pay gap in this country? Well, Jeff Bezos' net worth has skyrocketed on the back of this pandemic to a world-topping $200 billion. Oof. Amazon has made a record-breaking $5 billion in profit last quarter, and yet the company's median full-time U.S. employee in 2019 made just under $37,000.
That's crazy.
Question number 4. Do you want federally tax-funded programs like Medicare for all and tuition-free college? Well, Amazon has paid little to nothing in federal taxes in these last 3 years, so who's going to pay for it all? Working-class citizens like us, while the billionaire class and the corporate giants just kind of sit back and do nothing to contribute? Question number 5, do you care about decent working conditions for workers? It's been widely publicized over the last few years that Amazon warehouse workers have been held to such impossible productivity standards that they have to pee in bottles to avoid bathroom breaks. They're only allowed bathroom breaks of maybe 5 to 6 minutes tops. They get tracked by handheld devices, and they're notified by those devices when they're not meeting these standards. They get penalized for using sick time to the point where they may even get fired, and they're not even allowed to bring cell phones, keys, or even belts into the warehouse.
Wow.
Question number 6, do you care about doing your part to stave off irreversible climate change? Well, with the way people shop on Amazon these days, buying all types of products, onesie, twosie fashion, expecting delivery times of a day or 2 days max, dealing with missed deliveries, dealing with returns, all that shipping that goes along with that. These shopping habits overall have higher carbon emissions than driving to a local store or having a local business to you. Your local shopping emissions are even further reduced if you live in an area where you can walk, bike, take public transportation, or even drive an electric car to your local store. And then lastly, question number 7, do you care about keeping small businesses alive? Because an antitrust complaint was lodged against Amazon late last year, which accuses them of forcing sellers to pay them fees to use their shipping services with threats of steep penalties if they decide to ship on their own. These fees are then passed on to the consumer, obviously, unnecessarily inflating sellers' prices. So just this week, Portland-based Powell's Books, one of the largest bookstores in the world, has left the Amazon selling platform and says, quote, for far too long, we've watched the detrimental impact of Amazon's businesses on our communities and the independent bookselling world. The vitality of our neighbors and our neighborhoods depends on the ability of local businesses to thrive. We will not participate in undermining that vitality. This undermining is having an effect on so many local businesses across America, where we as people are choosing to shop online out of nothing more than convenience while neglecting our local businesses, yet we also lament when they're gone. Overall, we have to fight with our dollars just as much as we fight with our votes, and it's about time that we as progressives all take a deep breath, face ourselves in the mirror, and pledge to put our values before our conveniences. And if you disagree, at me about it. At me in the comments.
Yes, there you go. Add them in the comments below. Izzy will respond. Now, the question is, you got people out there who say, well, you got Apple who's doing slave labor in China, and you got all these Nikes who's using overseas slave labor. I mean, everyone's doing it. You can't get away from it. What do you say to that, Izzy?
So I completely agree with you. And the reason why I bring up Amazon specifically in this whole spiel is because they are by far the largest most profitable company in the world, and everything that they do has an effect on our entire economy. I mean, they are that big at this point. So that's why I single them out specifically. When it comes to like Apple and all these other companies that have really bad business practices, yeah, I mean, we need to be researching I'm maybe a little bit extreme, but I research almost every product I buy. I want to know where it comes from. I want to know if there's a better product out there that I can buy that better supports the working class, especially here in America. It really just comes down to research. We really have to be better about, choosing where our dollar goes. And if we have better options out there, which a lot of times we do, we need to be choosing those options.
Yeah, I think, me and Izzy, we talked about this a lot, and, I try to do my part. I know everybody, for example, you can't get away from everything. If you have your iPhone, whatever, you can't get away from every part, but it's important to do something and as much as you can, and sometimes inconvenience yourself. And, and I'm never going to be like Izzy because, he also not a meat eater, and I got my grill out and I'm always grilling. So I'm not going to give that up, but at least, because of him, try to minimize my consumption of that. And not just him, but the things that he had taught me about the way that the meat is grown and different things like that. So nobody's ever going to be perfect, but, you could try to look at different parts of your life where you can make a little bit of a sacrifice.
Yeah. I think a key thing to remember too is that if the changes that we're going to make, I'm somebody that also tries to be like Izzy, conscious. I have solar panels, I have this, but at the end of the day, we have to come up with plans that are policy driven, that are going to affect the major corporations, in this case, like Amazon, but like many others that pollute, because if I'm not mistaken, about 70% of the world's pollution is from corporations. So unless we could do all the individual action that we want, we could not eat meat, we could do all these things. But if we're not cutting down on those corporations, then it's all a moot point. So we have to lead with legislation, and personal action is important, and we have to do it, and we have to be the change we want to see. But at the same time, we could be all the change we want to see in this case. And if we don't have legislation, it's not going to stop the world from overheating.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll play devil advocate here, right? Because when you look at where the small business, like we know where technology is heading and e-commerce is going, right? And when you look at where small business are actually selling, is on Amazon. So it's like, how do we support the small business that don't have that e-commerce way of being able to go directly to the consumer, that I could go and shop directly towards them, right? And I think that's what Izzy was talking, is make me think like, where is the Small Business Administration on this, right? Like this is going to be something where the Small Business Administration may create a platform where small businesses go in there, and the use of the post office. Whereas, Amazon could compete with that and say, here you go. Like, if you want to buy on Amazon, if you want to buy wherever you want to buy, that's great. But there's also nowhere that I could go that if it's not in person, whereas small business, I could buy directly from a small business if they don't have an e-commerce platform that is not Amazon.
I know something that we talked about is co-ops. That's a way of the workers owning the companies, and we're going to be talking about a topic coming up next, talking about the corporate death penalty. And I think definitely Amazon's at that point where, if not, they need to have the corporate death penalty, they need to get broken up. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I just don't understand how Bezos worth $200 billion in the middle of the pandemic.
It's ridiculous. And how much his wealth,
can't wrap my head around that.
How much his wealth has grown since the pandemic. It's absolutely crazy. Tell us in the comments below. Get at Izzy. Let him know what you think, whether you're for it or against it. Let us know.